Yesterday, the Reserve Bank of Australia held its overnight cash rate equivalent at 3.5%. This was widely expected given the rate cuts of 0.25% in June and 0.5% in May. Analysts, however, are somewhat cautious and expect further cuts by the end of the year, primarily because they see that Australia's economy is likely to deteriorate by then. In terms of oil prices actually reversed the recent trends by bouncing up by around 4% overnight. This is driven predominantly because of concerns over Iran's threat to block the straits to oil shipments out. In the US, also a reversal of some type. The ISM manufacturing results released yesterday created an air of pessimism in terms of US markets. However, the Department of Commerce released results today which actually contradict that, showing that in terms of May, manufacturing orders actually increased by more than actually expected, by around 0.7%. In Europe too, some optimism. Most investors are speculating that the European Central Bank will add to stimulus for the European economies. So looking at the markets then, the Dow was up around 72 points ahead of today's Independence Day holiday, and most European indices also had a bit of a bounce in their step. In terms of currencies, the Kiwi was relatively flat against the US, the pound and the euro, and down slightly against the Aussie. In the latest global dairy trade auction held last night, prices resumed their downward trajectory. Viewers will recall at the last auction, prices only fell relatively modestly, and in the auction before that they actually increased around 13%. This actually gave rise to hopes that the dairy prices had actually bottomed out. However, in the overnight auction, the all products index fell by around 5.9%. This is equivalent to around an average price of slightly under $2,800 a tonne. One of the primary drivers behind the fall was anhydrous milk fat, which fell by more than 10%. However, no product line was immune, with skim milk powder falling by slightly under 10% and whole milk powder by falling by around 4%. Although one thing needs to be borne in mind, effectively the actual stocks that were actually sold last night were quite high relative to recent times, around 38,000 tonnes. What this possibly indicates is that the store cupboards are being cleaned out ahead of the new season's product.